Hey, Think Community, welcome to this episode of Think Business Live. I'm looking forward to talking with Codi and Valerie Gharagouzloo. It's great to meet the two of you. You are the scientific founder and CEO, co-founders and COO of Imaginostics. It's great to connect with you both today. So I'm a business coach. I work with people all over the globe who are successful but stuck. And I always like to start off my podcast with talking to people and business owners about where their stuck is and how you got unstuck. You know, in a market where you seem to be real pioneers in ways. You know, where's an area that you've been stuck, and how did you get unstuck?
You want me to?
I can start. So first of all, thank you so much for having us on your podcast. It's really a pleasure and an honor. So thank you very much for this opportunity. I think we got a little stuck, on transitioning to the market, right? It's we're working on a deep technology based on quantum physics. It's an MRI technology. And it comes from the lab, and our objective is to bring it to the bedside to patients at hospital. But even if you have the most innovative technology in the world, you still have to do a lot of, go through a lot of up and downs in finding a way to commercialize it and go to the market. So I think it was for a few years really hard for us to know how to do it until a few months ago, where we found a way to get FDA clearance. We found a pathway. So I think, persevering and talking to a lot of people, finding collaborators is essential to get unstuck.
Yeah, I would say collaborating is it's the surest way to get unstuck. So no, I appreciate that. Let me just say this too. You guys are a health tech startup. You develop breakthrough longevity technology for precision medicine located here in Florida. But the company's methodology provides vascular imaging biomarkers. Talk a little bit about what your company does, because it really seems like you're doing some pretty amazing things.
Yeah, so we're doing a 10x better MRI, 10x better than the gadolinium imaging. Every year there's 40 million scans, 20 million with a gadolinium contrast agent. We're probably 100x better in terms of detail than no contrast, 10x better in terms of with gadolinium. And then the contrast agent that we use is a non-toxic iron supplement. So we're moving away from, heavy metal so that's sort of the first part of our value proposition.
Yeah.
The second part of the value proposition is sort of what you were, starting to talk about there, which is the biomarkers. So we can quantify at the individual pixel, or in 3 dimensions, we say voxel level, the vascular structure, function, and leakage. So looking at the small vessel density, for example, small vessel responses, any leakage in the small vessels. And so we can use those biomarkers to, quantify disease and aging. Yeah.
Yeah. So it sounds like you're not only helping people who are in need of this, who are maybe going through something, but also in a preventative nature as well, it sounds like. And so if there was one thing, with the technology that we have today, I think there's never been a time where we can be more preventative. And so when you look at that and you think about being preventative, what's one way that you would encourage people to be preventative, and how does your technology help them be preventative?
When we talk about preventative, what we talk about is sort of, identifying and quantifying disease that you may not even know is there. And so it's a new technology that enables that. I mean, one example is, in Alzheimer's disease, where it's the type of disease where, you find out you have it sort of too late. You're going to have symptoms. Nobody's identifying this before the symptoms. And so we're translating it, as Valerie said, that's one of our applications. And so now we've, for example, been funded by the National Institute of Aging, and then also the Alzheimer's Drug Discovery Foundation for those first, pivotal clinical study to show early detection and cognitive impairment. But it's not the type of thing where I can say go out and get that done, right? Because that part's not available, on the market.
Yet, but so actually we partner with a leader in preventative diagnostics. So what they have is that they have a clinic. It's a private clinic where people can get blood test, scan, MRI scans, and so we focus on the MRI technology aspect, right? It's an MRI technology, and when it will be available, that's something we install on the MRI scanner, and people can get scanned. We apply our biomarkers to detect disease. So what we have shown on rats at a 20 years old human equivalent, we were able to see and diagnose Alzheimer's. So, in the idea is that when we develop the technology and it becomes available, we'll be able to see disease much earlier so people can develop a preventative treatment plan with their doctor. That's in that sense that we are preventative.
It's great. It's great. So when I want to talk to you as entrepreneurs, right? So I like doing kind of mini business courses. And so as entrepreneurs in this new startup tech space, what are three pieces of advice you would give someone who's also looking in this, tech startup space when you're starting something that is, has really time intensive and has a lot of moving parts? What would number one be?
I think the first thing is really just to have an objective evaluation of the importance of your technology, the usefulness of your technology. Are you going to have customers? Is this something that's really needed? And we've had a lot of that validation by speaking with clinicians, by going to conferences where the cutting edge MRI technology is being developed and displayed, speaking at those conferences, speaking with experts. So that's sort of the first thing, because it's going to take, I'm the inventor. So I did my PhD and my postdoc on this, right? So it's got to be something you really believe in. Maybe easy for me, right? Because I've been doing it for so many years, but
I'm going to complete what Codi just said, because even before he worked on this technology, he was already passionate. And at that time, he wanted to find a cure against cancer. So I think, he came from passion first, and then he found the technology. And then, he saw like the real value and application. But I think passion was maybe first, Codi, if because that was at the heart of why you decided to do a PhD in the first place.
Yeah.
For me, I'll say, mission is important, why you're doing it, because as an entrepreneur, there is a lot of up and down. It's not always easy on a day-to-day. You have to overcome a lot of obstacles. So I think like being perseverant, resilient, and, if you have a clear why for yourself, that's gonna, give you a driving force in continuing and persevering. And I guess maybe the third aspect, I think, talking, networking, explaining what you do to people, and kind of find a tribe, whether it's like, through coaching, coaching is amazing. But as also peers, also like maybe a technical group as well. But I think like being connected is very important as an entrepreneur, because it's, otherwise it can become like a lonely road. And especially if you start by yourself and you don't have a partner from the get-go, I think finding a tribe and be connected to other people that you're gonna encourage each other is very important.
And then maybe to complete Valerie's third thing here for us, but is and just to emphasize that, because a lot of times it's easy to get bogged down in the what, sometimes in the how. But really, it's going to be the who, right? And so who's going to, be able to remove these roadblocks, bring you to the next level, and so on. So that's why it's, if you stay in your box, it'll never work. You gotta find who. So
yeah, well, that was well said. I mean, all those pieces, but I want to just emphasize on the last one, finding your who's, not only who your audience is, but who you need to delegate to is so critical. I just want to kind of highlight that. So you have a business. I think this is it's always a good topic of discussion, because I like to do a mini business course. I like to do a mini life course. And so you're a married couple in business together, right? And so I'm seeing more of that. Maybe in in a post-pandemic world, I don't know, but there seems to be more family businesses kind of sprouting up. So from starting a business as a couple, as a family, what are 3 suggestions that you would give people, when starting, as a family? Because if you disagree on something, you're still having dinner that night probably together. So, how do you, and I used to be in a family business. I had an internet company with my brother when I graduated college, and it was great. But sometimes I would have to say to my brother, I'm the younger, stop talking to me at company meetings like I'm your younger brother. So what are 3 things that you would recommend people think about as they are hungry to start a family business? Number 1.
I can start if you want, or you can go.
Yeah, you can go ahead.
Well, I mean, I think I think that you should find alignment, right? Alignment of what of the mission. You should both have a similar, Valerie wants to drive this because she wants to have an impact. She has a lot different things to bring to the table than I do, and those things are needed in a company. But also aligning of the timing. So she had a really critical role to our founding, but early on when we're doing a lot of science stuff, alpha version, beta version, first clinical work, it's very technical. I mean, that's not the right time. So she actually joined this September. And so we've been around for 5 years. And so, yeah, I mean, the mission and the timing.
And I don't think that Codi and I have exactly the same personal mission, but it's, we kind of join in a crossroad, I would say. We believe, first of all, like we believe in the strengths of the technology and the big impact it can have. So I think the fact that it's so sure for both of us, that we really believe it 100%, I think is fundamental in me joining him, right? And then the second thing Codi just mentioned is that I didn't join immediately. And actually, I had to go, talk to a lot of people, get advice to see if that's something I really wanted to do, because I was trained as an immigration attorney, which is a very specialized field. I invested a lot of my time and resources in, building this knowledge and this career. So for me to transition into like the medical field, I really had to understand what was the value I was bringing, and how I was gonna support this company. So I think timing is essential as well, and 5 years is a pretty good timing. And again, my mission is to bring this to the patients, right? To be commercialized. So that's how I thought, I really want to help with that, right? With this part, at least. But yeah, I think sharing at least the same vision is important. And whether it's in a couple or with your parents, some people work with their father or mother, or with a brother or sibling, I'll say, finding balance as well between, professional and family wise, is essential as well. So sometimes I have to tell my husband, well, let's take a break, and let's go to Disney in Orlando, because otherwise it will be like too much of business discussions. But otherwise it's fun. I'll say it's fun, it's really fun. And I think we're pretty lucky actually and blessed to be working together. So
it is.
Yeah,
it is. It's when you can do it and it fits. I just want to kind of emphasize something you said, which I think is really important. Everybody understanding their lane, their unique ability, what they bring to the table, making sure that I think when that happens, we can leave our egos at the door. I see this in companies that I coach. When everybody understands their true strengths, their unique ability, what their lane is, then it's easy to leave ego out of the discussion, because everybody's just fluidly, sharing, and that's one of the ways it works. When you have people kind of fighting over the same position or to get their voice or idea in the room, that can sometimes not always end up the greatest. But I appreciate that. Those were great insights. let me ask you a question. In a world of where people are skeptical, where there's new technology coming out all the time, what in kind of a minute, how do you build something like this and provide the track record and the proof of concepts that it actually works, so the consumer and the people purchasing this know that, okay, this is really making a big difference, changing, and more importantly, saving lives?
Yeah, I think the most critical part, I mean, so the consumer, so at this point we're getting our FDA clearance and approval. So, the consumer isn't going to be able to, purchase this one just yet. I think, but there is a part of that, where, for example, you're raising funds and, sounds great. How do you substantiate your claims? So I think, in something like this, which is very technical, I mean, it's easy for me to get people lost, quickly. And so it's MRI is probably the most complicated imaging modality in the world, and what I do is quite special, and so on and so forth. So publishing is really important with a deep technology like ours. So we have around 10 publications. I mean, it's easy to get buy-in from, the more knowledgeable the person actually, it's the easiest person to talk to. I talk to a clinician, I say, you're used to looking at radiological images. Hey, look at this. Look at this publication where, we go head to head with the state of the art gadolinium imaging. This is how these radiologists judge this thing. Hey, look at this publication where we hit these animals in the head and we measure blood-brain barrier leakage and so on. We characterize. And so, and the list goes on. So, I think finding the right people who can make that call and publishing papers for people who can't.
And I want to complement that. We work with experts in their field. So if you look at our partner page, Codi works with high-level experts and researchers at top institutions in the United States. So having the right network, definitely if those people are gonna work with us is because they understand the value of the technology. And the second thing as well is that we actually we are finalists among a deep tech competition. So same the reason why we applied is because they review the technology and all its application, and they specialize in deep technologies. So same, I think maybe applying for competition or awards or working with the best in their field is important to validate your product, and as well publishing. Publishing can take a few years, but it's worth it because it's reviewed by experts.
Yeah, grants, I think, are another type of social
grants.
Proof that we've gotten. True. That's been critical. And we've got, a couple of grants totaling about $1.5 million from the National Institute of Aging and the National Institute of Mental Health. And we had an investment from the Alzheimer's Drug Discovery Foundation. That they have an even more rigorous scientific process than the NIH. So, I mean, it's those type of social proof where, the hardest thing for me to do is these competitions, because I'm just I love, publishing. You feel as a scientist, I feel like as a human being, I'm contributing, getting NIH funds. I mean, all that makes sense. Competitions, I think, are important. Now we're starting to do those things. So, out of 4,500 people, 7 were selected. There's 70 in total, but 7 were selected in the med tech, were those ones. So, I think these are all critical.
And it's on the first question, right? Finding your tribes, how are you going to find them, right? By going through an incubator, accelerator program, or competition where you meet other people. I think it's important, and for the visibility as well, right?
Yeah, good. All right, good stuff. Let's do a quick speed round. You ready? A book that's had a big impact on you.
For me, it was Grit. It's Angela Duckworth. Really about, so before I joined Codi, I was already a lawyer entrepreneur. Understanding, how there is a driven force, in entrepreneurship. I think it always comes to what's really motivating you in life, right? And why you're gonna persevere and continue. So that's a book that really resonated with me, but there are others too.
Yeah. Codi, how about you? Best piece of wisdom you've ever received?
Wherever you go, there you are.
All right, that's a good one. And last
Compliments
question.
of my father. There you go.
Yeah.
Who was in
last-
military?
Last question. What for those who are interested, one thing somebody can do to start their own tech startup is
Do it.
Join an incubator, I'll say.
Yeah.
Join an
Yeah.
incubator,
Yeah.
find an accelerator, find a co-founder.
Yeah.
Would be a good one too, right? That's always, and then get started. You
Good.
know.
I love it. Tell everybody where they can connect with you and learn more about you guys.
On the website, Imaginostics.com, and so LinkedIn as well.
That's great. I appreciate you guys. Think community. A lot of the stuff that we talked about today is about, entrepreneurship, figuring out what your role is, identifying your who, all really important things, no matter what the business. Your business happens to be a tech startup, but they apply to all businesses. I appreciate you sharing your story. Thank you so much. Think community, if you can reach me at johndwoskin.com, and you can reach Codi and Valerie. Give them your website one more time.
Imaginostics.com.
Awesome. All right. Thank you both a ton. I appreciate it. Think community. Thanks so much.
Thank you.